Chapter 10 Missing Connections. Mom's perfectly average station wagon felt decidedly less than average that evening when she collected Bat from Israel's house. So, how was it? Mom asked, putting the car in reverse to back down the driveway. Ma, Bat said, have you ever thought about getting a truck? A truck? Mom said. She shifted into drive and stepped on the gas. Yes, said Bat, a big one. Actually, Mom said, the first car I bought when I was 18 years old was a truck. Really? Was it like Tom's truck? Tom, asked Mom, glancing over at Bat. Israel's dad, said Bat. Ah, I didn't realize you were on a first-name basis. It's no big deal, Bat said. Tom is cool. Mom laughed. Careful, or you might make me jealous. You've never called me cool. Anyway, she said, did you have a good time with Israel? Mm-hmm, said Bat. Then he realized that he hadn't yet asked about Thor. Oh, he said, is Thor okay? Did you remember to give him his 4 o'clock feeding? Of course I did, Mom said. She flicked on her turn signal and made a right onto their street, Plum Lane. Thor is great. He's in the back. You put Thor in the trunk? Bat's voice went high and squeaky with indignation. He's just fine, Mom said, and she pulled into their driveway, put the car in park, and turned the key. Bat unlatched his seatbelt, threw open his car door, and ran around to the back of the car. He clicked open the rear door and pushed it up. Oh, he said. There was Thor's traveler case, a second-hand cat kennel. But there was something else back there, too. A plastic gate or a fence or something. It's a doggy pen, said Mom. Someone donated it to the clinic today, and I thought we could use it for Thor. What do you think? Want to help me set it up? This pen, Bat thought, was even cooler than Tom's truck. They got into the sections of the pen, 4 plastic sides, it turned out, to form a square into the house. Mom tried to set the 2 pieces she was carrying down in the living room, but Bat carried his 2 sections all the way down the hallway and into his bedroom, where he intended to build it. Then he immediately started trying to figure out how to connect them together. We can do it later, Bat, Mom said, standing in the doorway of his room. After dinner and bath time. I want to do it now, Bat said, all this concentration on hooking the pieces together. He could see, though, that something was missing. The 2 plastic panels just wouldn't latch together. Are there any more parts, he asked. I don't think so, Mom said, and she came into Bat's room to see what the problem was. Oh, there must be connecting rods that slip into the edges here to hold the sections together. I don't know, Bat. Maybe they're at the clinic. I just didn't see them. We have to go back to the clinic and find them, Bat said. Not tonight, honey. It's getting late. We're all done with being out in the world for the day. We have to build the pen for Thor. Bat felt anxious, not tightening in his chest the way it sometimes did. He knew he should walk away from the problem and take deep, calming breaths. But he didn't want to walk away from the problem and take deep, calming breaths. He wanted to fix the problem. Bat, said Mom, you've had a long day, haven't you? She knelt down beside him and took his hand in hers. She squeezed his hands and released. Her signal to him that she was going to try to help him calm down. If he didn't want the help, Bat knew he could take a step away, but he stayed still. His mom moved her hands to his wrists and squeezed and released, and then she worked her way up his arms, squeezing his forearms and his elbows and his biceps and his shoulders, and then working her way back down to his hands. Baby, she said, and it was this word that pushed Bat over the edge. He wasn't a baby. He wasn't anywhere close to being a baby. Thor was a baby, and Bat was a caretaker. And right now, he wanted to take care of Thor by building this playpen. And if that meant going back to the clinic, even though it was closed for the day, then that is what they should do. And Bat didn't understand why Mom couldn't see how important this was, and how right he was, and just do what he wanted her to do. Bat, honey, shh, Mom said. And that's when Bat heard the sound he was making. He hadn't even noticed that he started making the sound, the high-pitched whine that seemed to come out of him whenever he was the most upset, when he had reached the end of his rope, as Mom called it. but even though he hated making the noise, it felt good to make it, just as it felt good to bounce on the soles of his feet. Mom's hands were still squeezing Bat's arms, and then she pulled her arms around him, pulling him close, and she held him just like that, in a nice, tight hug, and Bat wanted at the same time to pull away from her and to never be let go. She held him until he stopped needing to make a high-pitched whining sound, until he stopped needing to bounce on the soles of his feet, until the knot in his chest began to relax and unwind. Then she said very softly, "Come on, Bat, let me run a bath for you." And Bat let her lead him away from the pond. Chapter 11. Banana Fish. After bath time, Bat pulled on his pajamas and went into the kitchen, where he found Mom and Janie together at the table having breakfast for dinner, which they sometimes did when they hadn't been time to fix a bigger meal. Janie was having fried eggs, and Mom was spooning out 2 platefuls of scrambled, one for Bat and one for herself. Bat did not like runny eggs. He didn't even like it when other people ate runny eggs, because then he had to witness it. But Janie liked to dip buttered toast into a little pool of yellow yolk, and she was Bat's sister, so sometimes witnessing such a thing was unavoidable. The bath had helped Bat to feel calmer. Still warm from sitting in the steaming water, he drifted to his seat at the table and decided that Janie's disgusting eggs were something he could overlook tonight. "We have a week and a half to memorize our lines," Janie said to Mom, diving the edge of her triangle-cut toast into the yolk streams. "By the Tuesday after next week, the director wants the whole rehearsal to run without any scripts." Bat piled a forkful of scrambled eggs onto his toast. "How do you guys know where to stand and stuff?" he asked. "That's called blocking," Janie said enthusiastically. "We have to write it all down in our scripts. When to come on stage, which side to come in from, where to go, and when we sit down or stand up or whatever." "It sounds like a lot to remember," Bat said. "Oh, it is," Janie said. "But that's all right. I'm good at it." "You probably would be good at that part too, Bat. You're good at remembering things." Bat finished a scrambled egg and imagined himself on stage surrounded by other kids, acting out words from his script. He didn't really know how it all worked, so the things he imagined were fuzzy and vague, but they still made him feel nervous. "I could probably memorize the stuff," he said, "but I wouldn't want to be on stage with all those people watching." "I love it," Janie said. "I was born for the spotlight." A bright light shining right on him while rows of people sat and stared. That sounded like some kind of punishment to Bat. "There's room in a theater for the performers and the audience," Mom said. "A show isn't a show without both. Bat and I will both be your audience, won't we, Bat?" Bat nodded. "Yes," he said. "But tonight," Mom said, clearing away the plates and stacking them in a sink, "what do you two say to a game of banana fish?" They both said yes to banana fish, which was a game that Janie had made up when Bat was little. Well, Bat had thought that she had made it up, but when he was older, he found out that the game she called banana fish was the game most everyone else called war. The only difference was instead of saying war when 2 people flipped over matching cards, you were supposed to call out banana fish. You could play with 2 or 3 or even 4 players, which was perfect for their family. Janie shuffled the cards and dealt them into 3 equal stacks, while Bat loaded the dishwasher and Mom heated up some milk and cocoa in the red saucepan, pouring it into 3 mugs when it was just the right temperature. They settled into companionable silence and began flipping over cards, whoever had the highest card taking all 3. After 4 rounds, the first match turned up. Janie and Bat each flipped over a 7. "Banana fish!" they yelled, and then dealt 3 cards face down, waiting a moment and then flipping a 4th card face up. Janie's was a 6, Bat's was a queen. "Banana fish," she called again, this time in triumphant. "Good one, Bat," Janie said nicely, and he smiled. "Thanks," he said. And then, even though he knew the answer, he asked, "Janie, why did you call the game banana fish?" He liked to hear the story every time they played. "Because when you were little, it was hard to get you to play new games with me. You only liked to do the things you already knew how to do. And I begged and begged for you to let me teach you how to play war, but you always said no. And then one day I asked you if you wanted to learn how to play a new game called Banana Fish, because banana and fish were your two favorite words. Even though I didn't like the banana-flavored yogurt, Bat added happily. And you said yes to playing Banana Fish, even though it was the exact same game you've been saying no to playing, only with a different name. It's important to know your audience, Mom said. All three of them flipped over another card. Mom's Jack was higher than Janie's 9 and Bat's 4, so she took all three. Bat didn't remember that day that Janie taught him Banana Fish, but he thought Janie had been pretty smart for getting him to play her game after all. Since I wanted to play after you named the game Banana Fish, he said. Maybe I didn't want to play it because it was called war. That's a word I don't like. I agree, Mom said. That makes 3, Janie said. Banana fish are definitely better than war. Banana fish are better than war, and being together, cozy in their kitchen, was better than being apart. Chapter 12, A Perfect Night. Friday after school, Bat climbed into Dad's little sports car, sliding over to behind the driver's seat since there was no seatbelt in the middle. Dad was whistling something Bat liked and something that sort of amazed him. No matter how he tried, Bat couldn't arrange his lips into a proper whistling position. How was your week, sport? Dad asked as he pulled out of the school parking lot. It was okay, said Bat. Not great. Thursday after school visit to Israel's house. When Bat had hoped they would research possible vegetables for their skunk garden project, had instead been spent sitting on the couch while Israel played his new video game and practically ignored him. And though they had finally gotten the pen built, and though Mom had agreed to let Bat keep it in his room, Bat felt terribly irritated about the fact that this was an every other weekend. Even worse, that this would be his first every other weekend without Janie, because she had rehearsal today and tomorrow and a sleepover with a castmate on a Saturday night. I've got a surprise for you, Dad said. Is it that you've decided to let Thor spend the weekend with me at your apartment? Bat said, hopeful. No, said Dad. It's baseball tickets. Bat slumped in his seat, defeated. Baseball tickets? It was like his dad was trying to punish him for something. There was almost nothing good about a baseball game, but Bat could nearly make a game out of listing all the things that were bad about one. The lines to park the car, lines to get through the entry gate, lines to use the bathroom, lines to buy snacks and drinks, lines to get to your seat. Bat hated waiting in lines. He hated it so much. Number 2, the crowds. Even when you weren't waiting in line, you were still surrounded by people. Too many bodies squished together into too small of a space. The smell of the bodies. People say skunks smell bad. That wasn't even true. Skunks only smell bad when they sprayed. Some of the people at a baseball game seemed to smell all the time. Number 3, the lights. All those bright white fluorescent bulbs flooding the field in their artificial glare, making Bat's eyes feel twitchy. Number 4, the noise. Oh, the noise. People shouting at the peanut guy, people laughing loudly to each other and calling out to their friends. The announcer over the loudspeaker booming out information that seemed to Bat to be totally unnecessary. The music, the crowds bursting into cheers when a batter scored a run. Bat loved his dad, he really did. But when his dad made him do something like this, like coming to a baseball game, something he really didn't want to do, Bat wondered if his dad understood him. Because if his dad really understood him, that he would understand that an event like a baseball game was just about the worst way that Bat could imagine spending a Saturday night. We've got good seats, sport, Dad said, dragging Bat down the aisle and pushing enthusiastically through the crowd. Excuse me, pardon us, excuse us, he said. The seats didn't look good to Bat. They were too close to the field, which meant there was a higher chance that a stray ball could hit him in the face. What do you think? Dad asked, after they were settled onto the uncomfortable blue plastic fold-down chairs. Can we go home? Bat asked. Don't be silly, Dad said. They're just taking batting practice. The game hasn't even started yet. Bat didn't want the game to start. He wanted the game to be canceled. But in all the years Dad had been making Bat go to baseball games, Only one of them had been canceled, and that was on account of rain. Bat looked up at the cloudless, clear sky. The horizon was melting into pink and orange as the sun slipped away from the night. It was a beautiful, perfect evening. Bat sighed and shook his head. It was going to be a long night.